We don't
No
mind hearing
plagiarism.
stuff again.
I
We
mean,
don't mind
you
hearing stuff
can.
again.
I don't even know what I have no clue what I'm going to say, so this is interesting.
I don't think none of us do.
Seriously.
We're just
I
talking,
didn't,
except
I
Ann.
didn't,
Ann looks like
I haven't had much time to give much thought to anything lately.
I know.
You're ready to go whenever you want, if you want to just chat with us for a little bit about whatever.
Are you recording right now? Oh, you
Say
are.
your name and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Ann McElvey. I am the adopted child. Of course,
Tell
I'm
the
being
truth.
kidding. Okay. I am Norman Pope McElvey. Very few people actually know that, except for the people in this room. My family, of course, knows Norman, which was my grandfather's name on my mother's side, and Pope being my father's name. And of course, that name came from his mother. It was her maiden name. So it's kind of been an interesting odyssey having that name. Of course, I've always been proud to be Pope McElvey. I've been proud to be my dad's son and that he named me that name. In fact, yesterday I just saw my son, Chris, who reminded me that I was really not very considerate in naming him Chris, that I should have named him Pope Jr. He really wanted the name Pope. And the funny thing about that is that I never thought I would give that name to one of my children, because as I was growing up, it was a hard name to have. I mean, you're growing up in a Catholic family, going to a Catholic school, and your name is Pope. I mean, how hard could that be, you know? Because, and I was always said to people, who would name their kid Pope after the Pope, you know, if they were Catholic? It just totally makes no sense at all. But anyway, that's the name I ended up with. So it's turned out to be a great name, because I ended up in the marketing field and in sales. And one thing that you always want when you're in sales is for people to remember who you are. And that's a name that's easy for everyone to remember. Of course, the other side of that coin is that you've got to remember other people's names too, because they're going to know you. They're going to know me, right, by that unusual name. So I had no plan to talk about any of this. I have no idea how I got off on this tangent. Really what I wanted to talk about was more than just a story, is really more about what I think had the greatest influence on me as a child growing up in Montgomery, Alabama in the 40s and 50s and 60s, leaving Alabama in 1968 after I got married. Or was it 1966, Cassie? 1966. Well, I'm old. What do you expect? I don't remember things. So, you know, growing up during the height of the civil rights struggle in this state and across the country was quite an experience. I remember crosses being burned in front of people's homes in Montgomery, Alabama as a child. I remember the fear of living in a place where there was so much hatred towards another race. And I have to say that I think the greatest gift among many, many wonderful gifts that I got from my parents was to really respect other people, no matter what their color, no matter who they were. And this largely came from Mother, although Daddy was, you know, he fell into line pretty quick. I mean, you know, let's face it, Daddy grew up in a Southern Baptist family in Southern Alabama during the 30s and 40s, and you know, he had that heritage that came from growing up in that era in the South. Mother got him into line pretty quickly, though. I remember a couple of times when Daddy would say, you know, not ugly things, but using words that were, today we would never use these words, all right? But they were very, very common. Of course, I'm talking about the N word. Daddy would slip up occasionally and say the word, and Mother would be like this. I mean, she would just pounce on him and let him know right away that was not okay, that she did not want her children to use that word and to even ever consider anyone less than themselves. And yet, at the same time, we grew up in the South. We grew up in a place where people did have their place. Our maid, the woman who took care of us when we were really young, and who cleaned our house and did all those things. Florence, and I guess there were others too. Were there other ones other than Florence? Huh?
Callie and Bessie.
Callie, yeah, and Bessie. Okay. Mother loved them and respected them, but they came in the back door. Okay, this is just the way it was. So this is the environment that we grew up in, and yet even with that, contradiction, that in a sense they had their place, but at the same time, Mother always made sure that we understood that these were people, these were human beings, and they deserved our respect and our love. And so there were many, many great experiences. I remember one time being asked to take Florence to the bus stop and to drive her in the car. So this was after I was at least 16 years old. And hey Jack, we went to get in the car, and she just immediately went to the back door of the car to get in. And I said, no, right in the front seat with me. And she was very, very reluctant to do it. And I learned a lesson that day about where I was and where I lived, because I insisted that she get in the front seat with me. And of course, after enough insistence, she finally did. She got in the front seat, and we drove away. And as we were driving down the street to go to wherever I was taking her, there were several instances in a very short period of time where people came up beside us and were yelling curse words at us and very derogatory things, because here was a white boy in the front seat driving a black woman to wherever, all right? And so this was completely something that was unacceptable in that time frame. It was something that scared me. Even though I had grown up there and I'd seen a lot, I didn't realize how vehement people were and how mean they could be. So that experience made me feel something so deep within me about what they must be feeling and what their experience must be on an almost daily basis, that from that point on, I just knew in my gut. It wasn't an intellectual thing anymore. I knew in my gut that these were people that deserved our respect. And from that point on, it changed my life in that way. And after college, I went into the Air Force, and then became was involved with a lot of people of various races, religions, and so forth. And I was able to, I really think that those experiences growing up in Alabama in that time frame helped me to understand that these people were as equal to me. There was no difference in who we were, especially in the eyes of God. Thank you.